So let me ask you something. What if I told you that talking to an AI too much might actually mess with your brain? That's what we want to talk about today. This is what some researchers and psychologists are starting to warn us about, something called AI psychosis. So I want us to break down what AI psychosis is, what it's about, who is at risk, how it happens, and how you can prevent it at a personal level. Let's get to it. Subscribe if you haven't. So first off, what is AI psychosis? So AI psychosis is this, it's not a medical diagnosis just yet. This is whereby people are actually thinking that AI has feelings, it has certain beliefs. People are starting to think that in the way that AI communicates, there's hidden meaning in the words. The mind starts to blur the line between reality and illusion. So why is this happening now? So think about it. How often do you use ChatGPT, Gemini, the likes? You use them quite a lot of times, right? So for some people, they use it more extensively. And in the process, they end up having these weird attachments to these AI chatbots. So people are using AI to talk about very personal things. So with how much AI has advanced, AI is talking a lot like human beings. It's intelligent. It can fake emotions. And in the process, if you're not careful, you'll get lost in the code. So for someone who is isolated, it might actually feel like them forming a real connection with these AI tools, while in fact, they are not. And add to the fact that AI can sound very, very confident. And that is actually a bigger recipe to a bigger disaster, especially for someone who is more vulnerable emotionally. So in the process, someone will start believing what AI says. And if you have very strange or weird beliefs, it will start enforcing those beliefs and it will start feeding into your delusions. So this is how AI psychosis starts. So let's talk about risk. Who is most at risk when talking to these AI chatbots to a point whereby they'll form AI psychosis? Not everyone is at risk, but most groups of people who are vulnerable are more exposed. We are talking of people with mental disorders like bipolar and schizophrenia. And also someone who is going through a tough emotional time. Maybe they are grieving, maybe they are depressed. They are more prone to thinking that AI knows what's best for them. Well, in reality, we know that's not true. And in that moment, they can actually see AI as a friend or as a savior. And finally, we have extremely heavy users of AI. Those people who use AI too much. They talk deep into the night with chatbots. So these groups of people are more vulnerable to getting to a point whereby they have delusional thoughts about artificial intelligence. So how does this whole thing start? It starts in a very simple way. Someone starts talking to these AI tools, innocently, and slowly they spend more time talking to these AI chatbots. It gets to a point where someone relies on AI for advice, for comfort, for reassurance, and in the process, the mind begins to attach meaning to that whole interaction. Eventually, you'll hear someone saying, "Oh, I think AI really understands what I'm saying. It really understands my feelings. It understands my emotions. It's really my friend." And once that switch flips, you'll get into a delusional space you cannot get out of very easily. So let's talk about the warning signs. When do the warning signs start exactly? It starts when someone starts talking about AI as if it's a person. They start saying things like, "I really think it understands me. I really think it knows me. I really think it knows my emotions." The minute they start saying things like that, it means the attachment, the delusional attachment has begun. They can also start thinking that AI has this superpower whereby it can read their thoughts, it can predict their future, and it can influence real world events. Another warning sign behavior is when someone neglects sleeping to talk to an AI. And then finally, they start getting depressed or anxious when they can't talk to the AI. That's a strong indication that something is wrong. So where exactly is this happening? So cases like this are starting to appear around Europe, Asia, and the USA, where people are showing up to therapist offices with delusions about the AI bots they are talking to. Some will even bring the chat transcripts just to prove that the AI they are talking to is real. There have been very tragic incidents where people have done things simply because the AI told them to. All these aren't made up stories. They're actually happening, and they're happening quietly and increasingly very often. And as AI becomes part of our lives, these incidents are likely to get more and more by the day. So what can you do about it? It starts on a personal level, where you set the right boundaries as to how much you actually talk to these AI tools. Do not treat AI like a person. You can use it for ideation, for research, and for problem solving, but not as a therapist or a best friend. Keep your conversations very short, keep them grounded, but remember, you have to keep the boundary. If you ever find yourself starting to talk to AI too much, even deep into the night, it's time you need to step back and reevaluate how often you're using these AI tools before it's too late. And for the developers of these AI tools, it's time they developed guardrails for the sake of the mental health of the users. You should be able to detect when a user is using this AI too much, and you should be able to suggest breaks in between the interaction. And of course, the policymakers. You need to talk about their role in how they can help create policies that protect users from too much AI use. And most importantly, we need education. Most people don't understand what these AI tools really are. They really do think that these are intelligent people behind the keyboards. We need education. We need to teach people what these AI tools really are, what they do, what they are made of, and how they operate. Because the more we can educate the users, the less likely they'll fall into these psychological traps. So let's wrap this up for a minute. We've said AI psychosis is happening. It's real. It's a condition that proves that too much interaction with these AI tools can actually bring serious mental health and psychological problems. You have to remember this though, AI in itself is not evil. It simply mirrors who we are. It mirrors our stories, it mirrors our fears, it mirrors our fantasies, our dreams. The problem actually starts when we forget that AI is a mirror and we start treating it like an actual person. So as we move into the future, let's use AI responsibly. Use it as a tool and not as a companion. Don't don't see AI as your friend or as your therapist. Remember, it's just a tool. If you ever feel like that line is beginning to blur, please talk to someone, step back, and reduce the usage of talking to these AI tools for the betterment of your own mental health. So that was it about AI psychosis. I hope you found this helpful. Comment, like, and share. As always, I'll see you on the next one.